Welcome back to our third meeting in regarding our roads. We're so happy to have everybody here. I want to also welcome the folks that are on the Mountain Disaster Preparedness Facebook page. We've got about 60 on them already, and that number's probably going to grow, so welcome to them as well. I think we all need some good news. And I think we're going to get some good news tonight. The agenda is going to be very simple. We're going to have our folks from Caltrans talk to us about our roads. And we're also going to have the Emergency Management Department from Riverside County talk to us about, there's been a lot of questions about how we get out of here in case of a fire. And they're going to address that tonight. As you all know, in the case of a shelter in place or an evacuation, it's our individual responsibilities to be prepared for that. My group, Mountain Disaster Preparedness, has a table in the back that I'd like you all to take a look at. It's recommended emergency supplies that we all should have. And on your chairs, there's an explanation of some of the basics that we all should have in the case of an emergency. Once again, I have to remind everybody that our disaster aid stations, Mountain Disaster Preparedness aid stations, 9 of them, do not have food or water in them for the public. There is some supplies, but it's primarily for our CERT people, our community emergency response team folks that'll be canvassing the area, but it's up to you, and we're asking you to be prepared. Water is the most important thing, but food and batteries and meds, you all should have those just in case. So I want to thank the folks in the back that have set up our table. Refreshments were provided by Town Baker. They're delicious, as they always are, so give them your support. But I'll go over the agenda. We're going to have Caltrans address us for 20 minutes or a half an hour. And then our Emergency Management Director, Bruce Barton, is going to address us in regard to some of the issues that have come up in regard to evacuation in the event of fire. I also want to welcome the Principal Information Officer, Daryl Myers from California Highway Patrol. Is he up here? There he is. Thank you. CAL FIRE, Chief Don Olson is here somewhere. Mark Lamont from Idyllwild Fire is here. Captain Leonard Purvis is here. I made a huge mistake at the last meeting. I didn't give the captain his due. I gave him a demotion, and Supervisor Washington corrected that and gave him a promotion at the last meeting. So, Leonard, I apologize. Who else? We have Daryl Connerton from Senator Stone's office is up here. Michelle DeArnold from Chuck Washington's office, Supervisor Chuck Washington. Michelle, thanks for coming. We're going to ask you to write questions down on 3x5 cards. We're going to take the most obvious ones and the ones that have been asked over and over, and I will ask those. But at the end of that, with time permitting, we'll take questions from the audience. So we've got the room until 7:30, quarter to 8. We've got to be out by 8. And if we keep our fingers crossed, we'll celebrate the good news for a bit, and then we'll talk about emergency preparedness. Terry, you want to come up?
Sure.
And start by giving us the update on 70. How many of you have seen the progress in 74? It's amazing the work that you really got to see it to believe it. the work that's been completed and the trouble that they faced when the rains came in February. And I hear we're also making progress on 243. So I'm going to turn it over to the boss and give us the news. Thanks, Terry.
All right, thank you, Mike. I would just like to thank Rise Interpreting for being here for the second time, so let's give them a hand, and we're glad that they're out here. Thank you. I'm going to introduce who's here tonight with us on the Caltrans end. We'll start over here with Brian Hinman. He is one of our chief geologists for the state. He is also Richard Rusnak's boss. Richard is on vacation and he is surfing in Santa Onofre for the week right now. So he's in a better place this week. Well, I don't know, it's pretty nice up here too. And then we've got, of course, Nick Benjamin, the lead resident engineer for the 24374 emergency projects. Liu is our chief of maintenance engineering, and that is a job that is under maintenance, and it's in our office, but it's also where your emergency funding comes from. And they're the engineers that work with FHWA on all of these emergencies that we have throughout our district, and that's also where the money is coming from. They're the ones that take FHWA out, HWA out, and tell them, hey, look, we need funding for this or that, and here's the problem. And then we also have John Kai, who works for Liu, and he is kind of the lead for those emergency projects and maintenance engineering. Of course, Shane Massoud, the maintenance PIO, and you'll see a lot more of Shane up here too, even as we go out of the emergency work and into normal maintenance functions, snow, because he is the lead for the whole district. For maintenance, Riverside and San Bernardino counties. And then of course Paul Miglin, he's our acting superintendent right now for the banding area, which also covers Hemet. And I believe that he is the new supervisor for the banding yard, right Paul? So there we go. So I'm Terry Kasinga, I'm the Chief of Public Affairs at Caltrans. In case some of you don't know me, I've been coming up here for a few months to talk about the emergency projects and trying to keep everything in check. We are continuing with the advertising through this weekend with the photos that everybody provided. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we probably didn't get to put all of them out because we received over 300 photos. So we've been trying to change them out as quickly as we can keep general outdoor changing them out. It's a lot for them too because it takes a lot of editing and stuff to get them where they need to be for the digital billboard, but they're out there, so people have been seeing them. I want to speak for the county of Riverside real quick tonight. I told them that we would bring some information and have it available for you. They actually have a $1.2 million SB1 funded paving project coming to the village here that will start sometime around the end of September. There's a fact sheet and a meeting invitation in the back on the table. There will be a community meeting to talk about the paving job on Wednesday, September 4th at 8:30 in the morning. They're the early bird that gets the worm. We're late. So it's going to be at the Water District, and they'll be there to talk to anybody who wants to know about the project. And if I can see this, I was reading it earlier, it looks like they're going to pave about 1/2 mile of roadway on Park Lane, Ridgeview Drive, North Circle Drive, and Village Center Drive. There's a map on here, and it shows that it's mostly through the village. So that's good news for the community also. I think it's only about a 3-week project or something like that, so they'll be in and out pretty quickly. They have a consultant, Andrea Suarez, with PR Connect that's working on it, and she'll probably be up here for that meeting. And so that's more good news for Idyllwild because you're going to get new streets throughout your community in the village where your businesses are at. So let me get started with my presentation. Excuse me, I'm kind of crippled up from vacation. My back is killing me. Anyway, it's better for me to just stay at work and stay healthy. Caltrans and Ames have reached another milestone with this emergency project. Since the Cranston fire, there have been 3 emergency contracts by Caltrans District 8 to make repairs to 74 and 243, due initially to the fire and then the storm damage. I'm just going to go into what emergency contracts are and just kind of give you the process so you all understand it because we've been all over the place about these 3 projects. Emergency contracts are recognized in two ways. The first is for emergency repairs to reopen a road, like you saw right after the fire. And the second is to make repairs to restore a road that has been damaged, which is not an emergency when it comes to doing the work, and then once we get the road reopened. So phase one was completed after the fire to make those repairs to the fire damaged locations so that we could reopen 74 and 243 to the public. Even though there was flagging and a lot of work going on, we were able to open it to some degree after the fire. And that emergency contract is done and the work is over with and the money has been spent. Then we had a storm event, I believe in August, and we had to initiate an emergency contract, phase two, which was about $25 million. Now that storm event did a little bit of flooding, but it was after that event that we continued to investigate and found a lot of damaged culverts left over from the fire, and then rain event that came after the fire. And that's when we went through and we did assessments and found out, I believe at that time, about 90 culverts, right, God? And then it grew to about 140 in the following year. So I told you before, that $25 million from last August is still on the table, and the good news is that the permits for that work that we've been working with Army Corps and Fish and Wildlife and Forest Service and all these other agencies, those permits are supposed to be approved and ready to roll sometime in September, mid to late September. So the good news is, as soon as that happens, the names can shift to that phase two of the work, which is the $25 million. The work that you see going on right now is phase three, and that is the result. It's a separate emergency contract, a third one, and that's the result of the rain event that you got on February 14th, and then again that month of March. That's when the road washed out in several road locations, both of the highways. So the work that you've been seeing go on since the day after, I believe, February 14th, I believe the contractor was out here that Friday evening. That is the phase three of a $29.8 million, almost $30 million, that you've seen going on since the day after Valentine's Day. So, the good news is that beginning on Friday, August 30th, Caltrans will reopen State Route 74 to 24/7 escorts. Substantial completion of the work on 74 is expected by early October, late September, early October. So what that means is, and God's going to come up here after me and give you details. Once guardrail, delineation, and signage, when you drive up there, you see pavement, but you don't see striping. You don't see all the guardrail in place yet. You still see signs that are missing. You see some areas that look like, well, that doesn't look quite completely done yet, and that's why you're driving 25 miles an hour behind a pilot truck. So once all that's finished, which we're hoping by the end of September, we're going to open that road completely to the public, and there will be no more pilot. There will be flagging during the daytime work hours, which will probably be Monday through Friday. I doubt they'll work on the weekends, right? Except maybe on 243, but most of the work on that route is going to be done. There may be some residual culvert work, and it's going to depend on permits and us getting up there. But pretty much the road is going to be finished by the end of September, early October, and we'll be giving it back to the public and to the community. So there will be some flagging, but it's no different than when we were doing the guardrail work or the paving or anything else before we got the fire, remember? So it's going to be business as usual. And those things are good things because you guys needed the work up here. You know, it's construction work. I'd rather have it in my community on my road than have it happen on somebody else's mountain somewhere else, because that just means that you guys are having funds coming to your community for regular construction and maintenance projects. All right, so most of you have seen the new pavement on 74, and we've also repaved the 243 because we wanted to cover up and protect what repairs had already been made. You know, we had concerns about some monsoons coming in. Thank goodness they didn't. We wanted to get that covered up so that we didn't have any additional failures. All right, I have some more good news. It's probably better news than the 74, because a lot of you were expecting that, and we had told people we were going to open it. I see fingers crossed in the audience. Caltrans will reopen State Route 243 with some type of traffic control, either flagging or escort, by November 1st this year. We were able to start crunching some numbers and some work and looking at some of the work that still needs to get done and deciding, hey, we got pavement up there. Most of the big repairs at the biggest slip outs have built the road back up. People are just going to have to be able to put up with the flagging and escort, but we need to get it open to the public. And that's a decision that our district director made, and we've been working with this team over here behind us for the last week to be able to bring that to you tonight. So, a press release will go out in the morning. I've had Kitty Alvarado from KMR begging me to tell her what was going on with 243 today. I did tell her about 74, but the news is going to go out in the morning, not tonight. We wanted to tell you first. So I'll text her when I get out of here. It might be on the 11 o'clock news. But as far as you knowing any of this, you guys are the first to know. And we like to keep it that way because this is your town. All right. Like I said, Ames is going to continue with phase 3 on the almost $30 million from the 14 storm. They've spent $20 million. They've replaced 17 culverts on 74, 13 culverts on 243, with a total of 30 culverts. Now, there are still culverts identified that were damaged since the flooding earlier this year on the 243. There are 9 culverts, and there are 8 locations of embankments and slopes, in addition to the big washout areas. We do not have permits yet to move forward with that work. Like I told you before, all of this culvert work that's going to continue is probably going to take another year or more. We're going to be up here for a while. But at least you'll have your road back, and you'll have it. 74 will be pretty much open. You'll have some flagging, and the same with 243. A lot of it will be under flagging. So, I just said my next line. So we're going to be completing the work, and like we said, we'll be up here for probably about another year. I'm going to let Brian Hinman talk about well, he kind of had a statement today, and I'm going to let him say it because it's kind of cool. And so it's kind of why we're going to be up here for over a year, but I'm going to let him talk about that on the geotech end. So we also want folks to know that any inclement weather conditions, whether it's monsoonal, winter, or otherwise, could have an impact on current or future work. We all know that. You know, things that haven't been fixed yet or that aren't even targeted to get fixed because there wasn't anything wrong with them can still fail. It's going to depend on the amount of rain we get, where it hits, and we learned that this last winter. This was a very difficult winter, and it broke records, and Alex did send us the first forecast for the fall-winter season, and it'll be on social media with our office and then also EMD tomorrow. And then we'll try to get Alex back up here in mid-October when we come up and talk about reopening 243 to some degree. So basically, I do need to add this before I close out and let OnGod come up. I found out today that there was a highway maintenance paving job that's been on the books for 3 years, and it's just coincidental that it went out to bid a month ago, and the contractor actually started work just a few days ago. It is a highway maintenance paving project for $7.5 million to repave State Route 243 from the I-10 all the way up to post mile 13.5 or 3. 0.3, I think that's near Black Spur or something. So you're also going to have this paving job that's started, and then so once we do the flagging for the work on the 243, you'll hit some locations of about a mile with flagging for the paving job. As you all know, it's about a 180-day job. They can only work in certain temperatures, so they're going to rush to try to finish as much as they can before November 1st. If the temps get too low, it'll go into winter suspension until spring. But they're going to try to work as much as they can so that they can finish it by the end of the year. So on top of all this emergency work, you're also getting another $7.5 million that was on the books already and slated to repave your road from Banning all the way up to post mile 13.3, which is just up above Lake Fulmer. And the good news is the contractor is on board and working now. So if you live in Pine Cove and you're coming up from the bottom end there, you'll run into them because they started saw cutting the other day. So they're like, oh, we didn't think we had to tell you because the road is closed. Well, there's people living on that end too that are using the road. So I'll have Shane get some information out on it before the end of the week, and just so that people have knowledge that it's happening. But it's good news. So that's kind of it for me, Caltrans and Ames, and our district director want the community to know that our goal is to keep moving forward as quickly as possible and restore both of these routes. And of course, our number one goal is always going to be safety and providing access to all users. And we are going to continue to work with all of our partners here with us tonight and this community to make sure that happens. So thank you. Now, God, are you ready? Oh wait, do you guys want to see the video first? Sure. Philip and Mario and Mike Alvarez and I think Darren made a video for you guys last week. And so this is our latest rendition of our Caltrans update on the emergency projects. Yeah, it's captioned right, Philip. It didn't work. Oops.
Hello, my name is Shane Massoud. I'm the Maintenance PIO for Caltrans District 8. I'm here today to provide an update on the emergency work that has been taking place on State Route 74 and 243. Since February 14th, 92,000 man-hours have been spent to rebuild State Route 74 and State Route 243. The project to date has cost roughly $21.5 million. Crews have replaced more than 17 culverts on State Route 74 and more than 13 on State Route 243. Crews have removed more than 16,700 tons of asphalt to date. That's more than 33 million pounds. In the past 3 weeks, Ames Construction has placed more than 12,000 tons of new asphalt. That's more than 24 million pounds. Crews have hydro-seeded more than 10 acres of embankments and slopes to reestablish plant life in an effort to strengthen and mitigate any future debris runoff. Starting November 1st, State Route 74 will transition from 24/7 escort access to a 24/7 flagging operation. Also, starting November 1st, State Route 243 will reopen, but under the provisions of limited and restricted access.
As Caltrans transitions to 24/7 escort operations, the CHP would like to take this moment to remind the public of a few safety points. This is still an active construction zone, and the speed limit is still posted at 25 miles an hour. Also, during the escorts, we ask the public to remain in line behind the pilot car. There will be no passing or stopping along the escort path allowed. I'd also like to remind both the residents and visitors of Idyllwild that traffic fines are doubled when issued a citation within the construction zone. The California Highway Patrol is committed to public safety and encourages community engagement. To that end, if you would like to report traffic violators or other traffic or public safety concerns, please contact the CHP at San Gregorio Pass at chp.ca.gov.
Please.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm here to clarify a few things and elaborate a little bit more after Thierry explained and give you the good news. If you still remember Phase 2, that's the continuous job that will be working on 74, especially the leg going from Mountain Center to the desert side and few locations from Mountain Center to Hemet. The majority of the work on Mountain Center area to Hemet that is done, and we cannot open now completely because we're waiting for the guardrail and the safety features on the road, striping, roadside sign, and all this So you're gonna see us on the road for a while, so watch out for construction workers. And same time, we try to minimize the impact on you by doing most of the work off the road as much as we can. And that's probably in 4 weeks from now. But that's pretty much on the 74. And as you see, the pavement is adding a lot and enhancing the safety and the road quality ride. And same time on the 70, on the 243, we try to protect the area that we worked on in order to make sure if there's any storm coming into the mountain, we don't have erosion or slip away as we have seen before. There is few more locations on 243, as Terry said, about 9 culverts and 8 locations to repair slope and restore roadway embankment and build it from scratch because it's not in a good condition, but those are subject to the permit approval. We expect to get this in a month or 2, but when we get it, we're not gonna have a full closure. We're gonna work with flagging and traffic control to give you access to the lake, up and down to Banning area. And as you can see, when you drive on the 243 up to Lake Fulmer, you see some repair work done, and eventually when you open 243, you will see that we built a lot of areas that get washed out during February storm, especially Postland 16-1, the big washout. And that took a lot of work, a lot of manpower and hours and equipment and material to rebuild it from the bottom up. And I'm happy to take any question if any. Go ahead.
So with the increased traffic on 74 from Mountain Center to Palm Desert, that road has started to crumble on the sides. Is there any work to be done from Mountain, I know you said a little bit, but Mountain Center all the way down to Palm Desert?
Not all the way down, it's just up to the maintenance station or Lake Hemet, somewhere.
That's not where it's crumbling, just to let you know.
Yeah, because there is culverts that's very susceptible and we need to replace it before it gets us in trouble again.
If we have a good rain, that road's gonna be your next big project.
So we're going to wait and do the questions at the end because I know that EMD has a pretty good presentation tonight. So like Mike said, please put the questions on a card. We are going to go look and see if we have a paving project, a highway maintenance job coming up on that section of 74, and then we can get back on that one. There may be, I don't know, it's been a while since it's been paved, so we'll check on it and let you guys know. And the engineers are sitting right there that would know if that's going to happen. So we'll do the questions at the end. Brian, do you want to come up real quick and then we'll move into the CHP and get moving so we can get EMD up here.
Hi, I'm Brian Hinman. I'm the Office Chief with Office of Geotechnical Design South. That means I cover Los Angeles, Ventura, Orange, San Diego, Imperial, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. And I must say, the further I get from Los Angeles, the nicer the crowds. True story. In my late teens, 20s, 30s, I was an avid rock climber. I still get on the rock a little bit. But I've spent a lot of time up here. I've done quite a few of the test pieces on Takis and Suicide Rock. However, the most scared I've ever been on a climbing trip was driving up the hill on 74 with my buddy Eddie at the wheel. And Eddie was driving like a bat out of Hemet. Seriously passing people going around the curves. And I thought I was going to die. And so we got through town, we got up to Humber Park, got all the gear in the packs. I put the pack on, I'm ready to hike, and he goes, wait, I need to hear the rest of this song. Why'd we risk our lives driving like that just to wait? So it's kind of gratifying that 35 years later, I get to be part of a team that has made that road safer. And I know how people drive on it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Eddies out there, and they'll continue to drive that way. We happened to improve the sight distance, but that was just a happy accident in a way. Our main goals that we had to treat because of the storm was the increased rockfall hazard, the culverts that were overwhelmed, and the embankments that were sliding or had eroded out. So if you think of all those things if you think of the road like a chain, all the weakest links broke during the storm. And we're only allowed to fix what broke. That's the rules of where the emergency funding comes from. We can fix the links that are just about to break. So is the road as great as I would like to make it? No. But is it a strong chain now? Yes, it is. It's going to survive the next event in a lot better shape than it would have if we didn't do all that. So, I think that's all I was going to cover.
Did you cover the line about broken things?
Yeah. So, okay, and if you want to talk about geology or rock climbing afterwards, come and talk to me.
What was your friend's name? Steve? What was his name? Eddie. I'll take care of Eddie. My name is Officer Darremeyer. I am the PIO, the Public Information Officer with the CHP. We've been here on your mountain at this different fixed posts since Valentine's Day. I was here on Valentine's Day soaking wet. And our main purpose is to protect not only the construction workers, but the people that are using the roads, and make sure everyone's being safe as they're traveling up the roads, the ones that are open with pilot cars, so that Ames can get their work done. And that's really our goal. So when you see us sitting there, that's our goal, to keep the peace and to provide service, especially on the 74 side when people have been broke down, they run out of gas, they get into car crashes. We're there to help expedite their removal so that with the limited roadway, you guys can get to where you're going. So Ames will be, at some point, we'll pack up, we'll take all their cones and their outhouses and all their stuff, and they'll pass on. We'll still be here. We're still part of your community. You have 3 resident post officers that are here in your community. We're still here. We just want to remind you, be safe, be careful when you're traveling using the new road. We don't want anybody getting hurt. It's not a speedway, and we'll still write tickets. So just take it easy. Use caution, and we'll be up here for a long, long time. So, thank you.
Thank you. Captain Purvis is going to have to go to another engagement, so we're going to bring him up now. He loves the Hill, and his department has done a great job for us increasing manpower during this emergency. I'd want to thank you personally. Appreciate that. And welcome again tonight.
Thank you, folks. Yes, I'm sorry. I was communicating with my superintendent of schools in San Jacinto, so I'm sorry I'm going to be going down to another event. But like I always want to mention, and I always want to let you know, I do love Idyllwild. I try to get up here as much as I can. Somebody asked me how many miles I have on my car now. It's quite a few, especially having to go the long way around most of the time. But that's okay. I'm here with you. We're here with you. The Sheriff's Department is committed to making sure you're safe, and we're going to honor that commitment. And just to bring you up to date, I still have deputies working overtime on a continual basis, at least 20 hours a day, to provide extra coverage up on the hill. So that's going to continue. Even into Labor Day, this Labor Day weekend, we want to see how it goes. If you're still experiencing issues, problems, if calls are still extended as far as the time it takes us to respond to those calls, I'm gonna be monitoring that. And I just want to let you know that that's my promise to your community, to make sure that we have proper coverage and that you're not isolated. And just like Darren had mentioned from CHP, we have deputies who live up here. They love working up here, and they're committed to this community as well. So that's what I love, is to see their passion day in and day out, them wanting to be here, and I'm going to keep them here. So just know that we're here for you, and we're going to do everything we can to make this community not only safe, but safer. Thank you, folks.
Thing real quick, people like to hide. I want to acknowledge Philip Havens. He's back in our unit and he is a public information officer. He's also the maintenance customer service representative. So when you go onto our website or call in and say, hey, there's litter here, or there's a dead raccoon on the road here, the person that's putting in that work order is Philip. And the other thing that you're going to see out of our unit is all these awesome videos, because he is the man when it comes to making videos and doing our PSAs and stuff, and I'm just really glad to have him back. So Philip Havens from Caltrans.
Good news, everybody? Are you happy or happier? I think we have to thank all the folks that are here tonight in support. We've suffered through this, but we are Idyllwild. We can handle it. And I just want to thank all the hard work that men and women have put on this project. I failed to introduce someone when I was in haste to introduce everybody else. I think you know me, I'm Mike Fader and President of Mountain Disaster Preparedness, and we were pleased to be asked to host this third meeting. We're going to move now from the roads to something else that is dear to our heart, and it's emergency preparedness. There's been a lot of angst and talk about how we get off this hill with the road situation the way it was. Bruce Barton is with us tonight. He's the head of Riverside County Emergency Management Department, and Bruce wants to address us in regard to some of those concerns. I also want to welcome Stacy Kelly, who's our EMD rep on the Hill. Stacy's in the back. Thank you, Stacy, for coming.
And Shane Reich, our public information officer for the EMDs, he's up here representing. Thank you very much, Idyllwild and Heinkel, for having us back. One of the things we wanted to talk tonight about, because there's been a lot of questions and no small amount of media coverage on evacuations. And one of the things that I want to make sure that this community understands is that immediately following the fire, nonstop after the fire, we went right into the flood planning phase, but all of the public safety agencies responsible for evacuations and how evacuations would be carried out have continued to be continuously to discuss, to talk to Caltrans, to talk to the contractor, so that we are always up to date on what the status of those roads are, because we're very concerned, because in the Highway 74 going out across the plateau down into the mountain, 371 down into wine country, 243 down into Banning, 74 down into Hemming. Those are the roads. Those are the evacuation routes. Now, because the roads are continuing to be worked on, you heard they are significantly better. Because they're not open for you to travel on every day, that's not the same as they're not open to be able to evacuate people down all of those routes right now, today, as well as be able to get emergency equipment back up. We continue to have meetings, we continue to talk to Caltrans, we continue to talk, so this is CHP, this is Riverside County Sheriff, this is County Fire Department, this is Idyllwild Fire, this is EMD, this is U.S. Forest Service, so that we're constantly monitoring and know exactly how those roads can be used. So one of the questions we get asked a lot is, where's the plan that says, this is the exact road? This is the road we're going to go down. There's no such plan. There's no plan that says, this is the exact road that you're going to go down. Why? Because it's a very dynamic process. It depends on where the fire is. Incident Command, Unified Command, who has situational awareness on all the environmental issues that are going on, including the fire behavior, will decide, here's the road that's open, because if you just go off running one direction, you could be running the wrong direction. You could be running into danger, not away from danger, right? So situational awareness is something that everybody always has to have. And you have to listen for those instructions, and Incident Command and Unified Command will be giving those. So that is the way that the process is. So there's never going to be a written plan that definitively says, hey, there's a fire here, run down this road. It's the 74 across the plateau, down into the desert. It's 371 down into wine country. It's 243 over into Banning. It's 74 down into Hemet. It may be all, it may be a couple. But that depends on fire behavior, and these folks over here, and the folks in Sheriff and CHP that know what's going on, and they're going to make that call. So what becomes very important is that you're ready. That when that alert, when that warning goes out, that you have set yourself up so that you receive it. That's registering on our Alert Rivco system. Having your cell phone ready. That's monitoring the National Weather Service. Does everybody in the room know what a red flag warning is? Yes. Okay? So you live up here. This is the urban wildland interface area, right? When you choose to live up here, you take on a little bit of additional responsibility for situational awareness. So things like red flag warnings, alert and warning, how to register, how to plug into the system, how to do the things that you need to do to optimize your own situational awareness. That becomes something that's really important to each and every one of you, 100%. 100%. So, when you hear those red flag warnings go out, National Weather Service, we're also going to echo them out of the Emergency Management Department, in our reverse 911 system, so that you're aware. Okay, so that's just telling you there's a heightened environment for fire potential. That's what a red flag warning means. When you hear that, when you see that, when you hear heightened fire conditions on the news, all right, when you hear it blasted out over Winky, all right, that's when you need to start getting yourself ready. Get prepared, stay plugged in, right? Load your car up, make sure you have gas. If you have medications, get your medications. Get those kits ready, put them in the car so that when that notification comes out, you can receive it and you can very quickly act and you can follow the instructions. When we did the evacuation for Cranston Fire, when we did the evacuation for some of the monsoonal floods and some of the flooding that happened over Valentine's Day, how many of you were able to look at the EMD website, the map that has the zones in it, and put your address in there and be able to tell which zone, it's an evacuation zone that you live in? Is this ringing a bell with any of you folks? Okay? If not, please get on rivcoready.org. Pull up the Stormwatch page. Pull up the Mountain Plateau evacuation map. All the way from Poppet Flats, all the way down through Anzin. It partitions up evacuation zones. Look at that. Know where your residence or your business resides, in which zone you are in. When they do an evacuation, it's going to be orderly. It's going to be we don't want everybody, right, all roughly 6,000 residents, jumping on the road at exactly the same time. So when they issue that evacuation order, you'll hear two things. You'll hear an evacuation warning, which means, okay, I really better get ready. That's where you're in your car, ready to go. If you have special medical needs, if you are challenged in being able to ambulate, if you do not have good transportation, that's when you really need to decide to go, is when the evacuation warning goes out. So evacuation warning means you go. It's a voluntary type evacuation, right? We The next piece you will hear is an evacuation order. That means everybody needs to go. And when that goes out, we need everybody to comply and we need everybody to go. Another thing that we've been talking about in the group that is doing the planning is we know, and you should know that we know, that one of your concerns is, as soon as you leave, what's the condition of your home? When are you going to be able to get back? We're all thinking about exactly the same thing. And how can we get that information out to you? And how can we get you back into your home that's hopefully still there as quickly as possible? So once again, that's information that we will be pushing out. And we, amongst ourselves, have talked about, okay, we're going to do a better job. There are things that we have learned that we can do better. And one of the things that we think we can do better is communicate on the repopulation side so that you know we're going to get you back home as quickly as possible. Because then you're more likely to leave when the evacuation order comes out, and that's really what we need you to do. We need you to not be here, right? Because it puts you at risk, and the other thing is it puts all the folks, which I know you all care about because they're up here taking care of you every day, it puts them at risk as well. And I know nobody wants to do that. So get on that website, take a look at that evacuation, those evacuation zones, and understand where you are. Now, there's also been a lot of discussion, and I'm going to go ahead and address it here. There's a plan called the MAST plan. Well, the MAST plan is a plan, it's a fire pre-plan. It is created with the intended audience being incident commanders and the folks in Unified Command and Incident Command and the responders to be able to look at tactical detail. Where would they put safety zones for their personnel? Where would they do staging areas for emergency vehicles and personnel? Where would they do incident command posts, right? Where are the camps located? And how many kids are in the camps? One of the things that Wildfire takes the lead on is now every single week they put a report out that all of us know when the camp's in session and how many kids are there, because that's one of the first things we're thinking about. And we're talking and we're calling up constantly those folks that run those camps to make sure we know that we can get those kids out of there early and quickly if we ever have an evacuation that we need to do on the mountains. So these are the types of things that we are working at. That detail in the MAST plan doesn't provide any added value on how you would evacuate this mountain. It's tactical level detail meant for incident commanders. So as such, it's not going to tell you, okay, the fire's over here, you go down this road. It's not in there. But it will tell an arsonist that if I started a fire over here, here's where the cops and the firemen are going to be and congregate. It puts a spot right on the map. We have a concern with that. And because we have a concern with that, we think that the public interest in not disclosing that information outweighs the public interest to disclose the information. To be clear, the plan was written with the intended audience being Incident Command, Unified Command, public safety responders. There is a point to be made that we should put a plan in place that really looks at you, the community, as a consumer or a reader or a user of the plan. That's just not how that plan was built. So one of the things we are doing in the Emergency Management Department, we are not going to have it done for this fire season, but we will definitely have it done and in place so that this community can see it by the next fire season, is we are going to draft a plan, get a plan out there that really is something that the community can use in writing. So a lot of the stuff that I'm telling you, all of these features, where can you go to one place to look and say, here's how I prepare, here's the routes, all of those types of pieces of information, that will all be in there. But once again, it's not going to still have that specific detail that's going to say it's this exact road every single time. That's very dynamic, and that's going to be done by Incident Command. Alert and warning is something that we're very concerned about. We had a lot of good successes using it, both for the mountain fire, particularly for the Cranston fire, for the Holy Fire, and for the 14 evacuations that we unfortunately had to do over on that side of the county. And we got better and better with that tool. And so it's really, it's working very well at this point. So we really want to encourage everybody to get on Alert Rivco, register. If you can't get on and register, you can fill out a form in the back with Stacy, or anytime you see Stacy. And by the way, anytime in your community you see one of those red, white, and blue EMD trucks that's driving through and you have a question, please stop, talk, have a conversation. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if they can't answer the question, then we'll figure out who is the right person or group of people to be able to answer the question. So please get on there and register. One of the things we also heard post-Cranston fire is Winky was a success. Everybody liked being able to tune into the AM radio. And if for whatever reason the towers went down and we didn't have the cellular network and it's in some way compromised, the alert and warning system, having that AM radio is a very good way to get out information. They're in sync with us, they're in sync with Unified Command, they're in sync with the County Emergency Operations Center, so that all the messaging that's going out is going out with a united front, it's one common voice. So one of the things we're working on with our friends from Mile High Radio Club is they presented us with a strategic plan to be able to expand the footprint of Winky. And we're basically looking to expand the footprint from Papa Flats all the way down to Pinyon Pines. And we're working on that. That's a top funding priority for my department. We'll continue to work with Bill Tell and Idyllwild Wildfire, who has provided us with a strategic plan. And we are confident that we've found some funding. It's not 100% for sure that we can start working on expanding that footprint so that everybody that lives across this entire mountain plateau is going to be able to tune in to that AM radio. The other thing we're also looking at is sirens. That's come up from time to time. Post Paradise Fire, the County of Butte has implemented some sirens. We have discussed it amongst ourselves as public safety here, and we think that it's a good idea, and we are going to look for funding on that. The thing is, sirens are good at getting your attention, but they don't provide information. So when and if we get to the point where we're going to do that, and we're going to aggressively pursue funding, once again, to try to hit the entire corridor across the mountain, it's going to very much be, as most things are up here, a partnership between us as public safety and you as the community, because we're really going to need to be able to educate. For instance, for those of you that have businesses, when your patrons are up here and they hear the siren go off, what does that mean? So we're all going to have to work together on that. But that's something that we're very much interested in, and it will be another tool in the toolbox that we're looking at going forward. So I think those are basically my comments for tonight. I know you'll probably have questions. We'll hold off questions to the very end, but I hope I filled in some of the gaps for you. And if not, we will continue to work on that. We're not going anywhere. We will continue to be up here because your safety is paramount to us.
Thank you, Bruce. CAL FIRE is also represented here tonight, and Chief Don Olson is with us. I think it's important to know our position with CAL FIRE because they control a lot of the area outside of Greater Idyllwild, which affects many in the room. So, Don, are you here?
No.
Huh?
Oh, no. Hi, Battalion Chief Don Olson was unable to make it tonight, and it's very unfortunate for you guys because you get me. My name is Greg Bratcher. I'm the Unit Forester Division Chief of CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire. I manage the resource management pre-fire bureau for our department. Our main function is to identify our assets at risk throughout the unit and to put in fuel breaks wherever we can. That's going to help the communities the best we can. Some of the projects we have currently up on the mountain, we have the Red Hill Vegetation Management Plan that runs across the front country from Idyllwild to Pine Cove. We also have planned on the backside, we're just waiting for one more bid to get a mastication project on the backside of Idyllwild and the backside of Pine Cove for the Point of Rocks Vegetation Management Plan. We also, you guys notice in between Saunders Meadows and Marion View, there's been fuel reduction project going on both sides of the roads, and we call that the Upper Dry Creek on the lower side, and on the other side is the Astrocamp fuel project. So we are hard at work trying to help protect the community and put these projects in place. So you guys understand these fuel modification projects are not to stop the fire, they are to help change the fire behavior and also give our guys a fighting chance to put our equipment and our firefighters in those areas. So it's not as hot and hard to put the fires out. So we use those areas strategically for us to help reduce our fires up here on the mountain. Couple other things, CAL FIRE grants have been rolling out on the mountain. Mountain Communities Fire Safety Council has been using one of the grants to do fuel reduction projects around your properties. So if you guys have any questions, please contact them. And also Riverside County Fire will be starting a dead, dying, and diseased tree program. We're still trying to combat the gold spotted oak borer issue and the bark beetle issue on the mountain, which are also fuels on the mountain that we'd like to see get reduced. One last thing, also please do your families and your households a favor and look at readyforwildfire.org. It gives you some good tips and good planning in case there's any wildfire. And do not kid yourselves, we have been somewhat of a quiet fire season, but this is more of a normal fire season that we're going through right now. Our fire season actually now is getting ready to begin, and we do have our fall in front of us. So please don't think that we are out of the woods. We still can see some activity coming up. That's all I have. Thank you.
Fire breaks, fuel breaks, what he just talked about, it saved us in the Cranston fire. If those fuel breaks weren't there, the town would have gone. And Mark, could you come up? Mark Lamont, Fire Chief, IFPD, to discuss the importance of those fuel breaks.
Thank you. I was really excited tonight when I got asked to come speak on what Idyllwild Fire Protection is doing on your behalf. And then they told me I had 5 minutes. So that said, I had to wind down a 5-minute speech. And I started thinking about what I tell our folks. Your fire crew is here tonight, ready to serve. They're here 24/7, 365. None of us is as good as all of us, right? I tell them that all the time. None of us is as good as all of us. And so that said, I want to give a round of applause to our unsung hero, and that's you. So if you would, guys, join me. I say that because our success relies on your help. If you are here tonight, just raise your hand for me. If you're part of CERC, raise your hand. If you're part of MVP, raise your hand, please. Keep your hands up, please. Please. If you're part of the Mile High Radio Club, all those hands are dropping down. The point is, all the hands in the room are going up. Your partnership with us matters. It's a critical ingredient. We can't do this without you. And I say that because this year, more than any year past, you guys have stepped up to the plate. Back in April, the IFPD went out and started performing abatement inspections. I am certain that all of you got that postcard in the mail with the flaming front working itself across the south end of Idyllwild. We did 100% abatement inspections. That's 3,571 parcels that were inspected. The result of that first round of inspections showed that just over 3,000 parcels passed the first inspection. Your partnership matters. That's an 85% first-time inspection pass rate. It's never happened before. That leaves us with about 500 parcels that failed. In May, we went out and performed our second round of annual abatement inspections, and of the 500 parcels which failed during the first round inspections, 260 of those came into compliance, leaving us with just 240 that had not yet complied. Throughout June and July, IFPD personnel worked closely with property owners to educate and identify specific abatement deficiencies in an effort to help bring all our properties into compliance. As we completed the third round and final round of inspections, we found that 51 properties did not meet the final inspection. That may not sound like great news, right? Except for the fact that it's 1.5% of the total. Your partnership matters. It's critical. It's the critical ingredient to our success. It's overwhelmingly apparent that you're doing your part. So as I was asked, I put together a few things, and I'd like to share with you a few of the things that we're doing to fulfill our mission and our commitment to you. Our mission is life safety, protection of property and the environment. IFPD EMS incident response times are under 3 minutes. Our fire response time average is just under 4 minutes. The IFPD ensures that 3 ALS ambulances are in service every day and ready, which is extremely critical considering that our overlap call volume is 39%. This means that 39% of the time we're running multiple calls simultaneously. IFPD cross-staffs and maintains several pieces of fire suppression equipment. Your personnel are dual function trained in fire suppression and emergency medical services. Your personnel continue to meet and in fact exceed the state and national training requirements and standards. IFPD is a proud sponsor of MVP. IFPD conducts several community emergency response training team meetings every year. We have to date trained 172 CERT volunteers. Your partnership, it matters. The IFPD conducted 4 CPR courses so far this year for the community. IFPD maintains the licensure and is home for your Winky radio broadcast system. The reason it was still up, and Bruce alluded to it earlier, that it was still up and running is because IFPD maintains the generator to ensure that we have power no matter what happens during these emergencies. IFPD is a cooperating partner in MAST. IFPD fully supports the efforts of the Mountain State Fire Council, and every year IFPD inspects 100% of the 3,571 parcels, ensuring critical defendable space. With wildland fire and wildland fire readiness at the forefront of every city, county, and community discussion, and it's rightly so, with the recent tragic fires of the 2018 fire season. Incidents like the Camp Fire in Paradise, the Woolsey Fire in Malibu, have instilled an anxiousness and an uneasiness in the heart of those living within the wildland-urban interface environment. You. Our very beautiful community affords an extremely rare opportunity, I think you will agree, to live in such a picturesque place in Southern California. This beautiful setting does, however, come with a price, and it also represents some unique challenges, not just in fire. How about washed out highways? I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you, Caltrans, for all the effort and hard work. Thank you to the CHP. Thank you to the CHP for year after year keeping us safe on those highways. None of us is as good as all of us. Thank you to the sheriff, and I know Leonard had to leave, but these evacuations don't take place by the firefighters who are out on the line, right? We train with the Riverside County Sheriff's Office to ensure that they are ready to work when we do decide as Unified Command to call for a full or partial evacuation. Some of the other problems we encounter are snow chains, late activity buses for our kids, and of course, the wildland fire incidents, which can lead and have led to evacuation. So a quick summary. I know we gotta get you out of here by 8 o'clock. And thank you, by the way, to Matt Kramer. We appreciate the opportunity to do this here in your facility. In July of 1996, many of you were probably here when the Bean Canyon fire threatened the communities of Idyllwild and Pine Cove. Nearly 10,000-acre fire caused emergency response agencies to call for the evacuation of Idyllwild and Pine Cove. No structures were lost, and more importantly, there was no loss of life as a result of the Bean Canyon fire. In October of 2006, the Esperanza fire burned over 41,000 acres, destroyed 34 structures, and took the lives of 5 of our finest. They were engaged in structure defense on homes to the north of Idyllwild and the community known as Twin Pines. Evacuations surrounding those communities were put into effect. No civilian loss of life resulted from the Esperanza fire. In August of 2009, the Cottonwood fire threatened Idyllwild, burning 2,500 acres during the Jazz Festival, for those of you who were here for that. Unified incident commanders discussed trigger points and planned for the possibility of a possible evacuation, which thankfully never had to take place. No structures were destroyed, no loss of life resulted from the Cottonwood fire. Fast forward to 2013, the Mountain Fire burned over 27,000 acres to the south and east of Idyllwild. This event also led to the total evacuation of Idyllwild and Pine Cove, and the partial evacuation of Mountain Center. All told, 23 structures were destroyed in the Mountain Center area. The good news is, again, no loss of life resulted from the 2013 Mountain Fire. In August of 2013, the Silver Fire burned over 11,000 acres, claimed 21 structures in and around the area of the 2006 Esperanza Fire. Communities to the north of Idyllwild and Twin Pines, Poppet Flats, and Cabazon were evacuated. No loss of life resulted from the Silver Fire. And last year, I am certain that none of us could forget, the Cranston Fire. They claimed 13,000 acres just to the south of Idyllwild. It destroyed 3 structures here in Idyllwild and another 11 in Mountain Center. This arson-set fire led your unified emergency incident commanders to call for a complete and systematic evacuation of Idyllwild and Pine Cove, and a partial evacuation of Mountain Center. Once again, no loss of life during the Cranston Fire. In the past 25 years, your emergency response partners, you included, have effectively managed 6 major fires, mitigated countless small fires, which each posed a direct and significant threat to our mountain communities. Each time, we have successfully evacuated our citizens without the loss of civilian life. And we have consistently worked together to mitigate the threat of wildland fire through education, training, prevention, fuels management, fuels reduction, fuels treatment projects, and you, our unsung hero. These abatements, these property abatements, are important. They are critical. We cannot follow through with our mission and our commitment to you without your help. None of us is as good as all of us. We can't thank you enough for the abatement work that you've done thus far, the proper clearances that you've afforded us, and hardening your home. We have noticed an increase in remodels, and in those remodels, the use of less combustible materials. Your partnership counts. So looking ahead, as we commit ourselves to the continued and combined efforts working together with you and our partnering agencies that you see here tonight, we will ensure to build on our current track record. This is a track record because of your partnership of success. I am honored to serve as your fire chief. Thank you very much. I would like to say one other thing before Mike jumps in there. A lot of discussion about the master plan has floated around, and Bruce did a great job articulating why it is that we need to not turn that over. There was a CWPP, it's a Community Wildfire Protection Plan that was put out in 2017. The Mountain Communities Fire Safe Council took the lead on helping all the agencies put this together and prep it. MAST was involved. This is available online. So, we have it on our site at idyllwildfire.com. You can also simply go online and type in Idyllwild, or San Jacinto Mountain, Community Wildfire Protection Plan. This catalogs all of the work progress to date on all of these fuel reductions, treatment processes, treatment programs, and what it is that we're doing to ensure our safety record and our track record. Thank you again for your help.
Thank you, Mark. I think that brings us to questions. The program is over for those of you that want to get home, you're more than welcome. I just have a few questions on carbs, and it's unfair to those of you that have questions that come up during the presentation, so I sure should. My friend back here, she's the last one I want to ignore. Supervisor Washington been great support to us, and Michelle is his right-hand person, so Michelle, come on up. I'm so sorry.
I will be brief because I know all of you want to get on to questions. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I am Michelle DeArmond, Chief of Staff for Supervisor Chuck Washington. And the supervisor had a day full of meetings in Riverside. It's our regular Board of Supervisors meeting, plus he had a series of other meetings, so he couldn't be here. So I am here in his stead. But I have been texting him updates, and I have to tell you, he is thrilled, as I think all of you are, about the news tonight. We didn't know. Terry kept this under wraps very nicely, so the latest news here about 243 is just thrilling for us, and I hope it is for all of you too. And I think all of you know that the supervisor has worked very closely with the California Highway Patrol, with Caltrans, and with all of our other partners up here, and that relationship is very important to him. His relationship with all of you, the community, is equally important. And I hope you understand and recognize that. That is something that has been a priority for him as he's advocated on behalf of you these past several months and worked very closely with these partners. And I think it's that strong collaborative relationship that has really helped us so much to get through what's been a really rough number of months here after the fires and the roads and so on. And so I think everybody behind me, without even having to look, I know my colleagues here agree with what I'm saying, that the relationship here is really second to none. There's a great collaborative spirit. And I want to thank our friends with our Emergency Management Department, Bruce Barton and his team, Cal Fire, Mark Lamont with Wildfire, U.S. Forest Service, Sheriff Department, CHP, and of course, Senator Stone's office for all of that support, because it's really been a great collaborative effort that has helped us get where we need to be. And I just want to let you know that we're going to continue to work to do that. We will advocate on your behalf, and we'll continue to work very closely with our partners here. We've done that. We've communicated the information you've relayed to us. We've talked with Caltrans about different ways we can try to work to improve access, both for the folks who live here and the people who come up and do business with you that some of you rely on, and also to make sure that at the same time, we're being ever mindful of the need for safety in this community, because we know that's the utmost priority. So as always, if there's anything that I could do in our office, anything we can do to help you out, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And again, thank you to all of our partners.